I would like to start over.
I'd like to call the Missouri Western State University Board of Governors meeting to order. First item of business is to approve the meeting minutes. Last Board of Governors meeting, do I have a motion to approve the October 28, 2021 Board of Governors meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition. Governor's meeting minutes, October 28th is approved. Usually begin with the Vice President's report, but today we're going to start with personal finance and operations. For the personnel, finance, operations, committee is given by Governor Landis.
Well, we as a committee, dealing with the audit, want to have this referred to the board. In the process, our committee meeting was canceled a week before, but we would ask that there would be a poll come back because we still want to look at some more information. Not that we are questioning that, but that's where we stand.
Okay, in order to give the governor time to review the audit report, we're going to conduct a board poll on December the 7th. Betsy will coordinate with the governor. Now we'll have the vice president's reports. Finance and administration, but Darrell Morrison.
Good afternoon, everyone, again. Thank you for your time and dedication to Missouri Western and what you're doing. Just a couple of things to update you quickly. You have in your board book my printed report, so I'll not read it line by line. Just point out a few items to you. Number one, we are in the process of upgrading our network system on campus for Wi-Fi and things like that. This has previously been discussed at the board. The implementation of that should begin next week. We're beginning in the residence hall. There's a schedule. I know that our Dean of Students, Dr. Bruner, others, Dr. Mace, have been involved in that, and we're continuing to move forward on that in the hopes of having the campus converted by the start of the spring semester to the new network. I'm extremely excited about this, as I was having network issues in my office today of my own. So we're looking forward to that and doing that. And I'd like to thank the group and the team working on that. Also, our HERF funds, we had continued to utilize our HERF funds for infrastructure on this campus. Rather than any type of revenue replacements and things like that, in order to receive the best bang for the buck, if you will, on those funds. We have allocated out, as of this point, almost $4 million of the last round for this. And we'll continue to take care of some issues that we're having. We're also expending deferred maintenance money. I met with Brian Atkins, our the director of physical plant, yesterday, and approved a couple of other projects that were previously submitted to the state for deferred maintenance. One of which is we'll start moving on some window replacements where we have some leaks and things like that. We'll begin that with Wilson Hall initially and then see how the funds roll from there, but that will be a good move. We've also got a roof replacement that will come before. We just received the bids back on it. Didn't have time to get it before the board at this point in time, so we may do a board poll in reference that so we can get the materials ordered. And that is a new roofing project for Eder Hall. So we're looking at that. Also, our students, we have paid out directly to students, $2.9 million in the fall semester for her funds. Sherry Hartley in the business office, Cindy Conrad in our financial aid office, others have worked extremely hard. We were able, as you can see in our report, there was almost $375,000 of our students that put those funds on their account rather than having it pass through. So that's always good, which will help them as they continue their education. Also, we continue to monitor the budget. Kathy Gammon, particularly working extremely hard. We're reconciling positions in HR and things like that to our budget to make sure we are there. One of the things that I had mentioned previously to the board is a compensation study that is being conducted. The university is very much aware of the lack of raises and things that employees on this campus have experienced over the last several years. The Governor Landis, as chair of the Personnel, Finance, and Operations Committee, gave me a call. He's aware. I know this board's aware, and I'm not going to get into it a lot. Dr. Kennedy, I think, is going to address what we've got in her presentation. So, but we are working on that. What I wanted to tell this board is that I get preliminary numbers tomorrow, report. Following that, there is an ad hoc committee appointed by the president with shared governance at its theme and at its heart, with some constituents across the campus to look at this and talk about recommendations, what we can do, things like that, how we compare it and do some work for that. I hope to have a meeting of that committee prior to our winter break in just a little kickoff meeting, but our work will really begin in the spring semester on that. Trying to think. HR, in HR, I did want to point this out. We now have one of the great things that we've done in HR, among other things. There's been a lot of improvements and things, but one of the things we're now doing are orientations for new employees, faculty, staff, bringing them on, trying to get them comfortable with the processes, providing them information and things like that. And so it's been very beneficial. Recently, our new chief of staff was able to go and actually sing at one of the events. And so that was probably the low light of that particular meeting, I believe. I'm not sure. Oh, it's not the feedback you got? Okay. It was the highlight of the meeting. Let me say that. Okay. But that concludes my report this afternoon. Do you have questions, comments? Yes.
Yes. Daryl, excuse me. The HERF funds, we've put out $2.9 million.
Yes.
Was there an amount committed to this in excess of that?
We received $5.8 million for students. You are correct, Governor Woolard. We committed that, and what we made an institutional decision to not give it all out in one semester, okay, in order to best help our students. So we did 2.9 in the fall. We will do 2.9 in the spring. Okay. And all these funds have to be expended by May of 2022. Okay.
And I may have heard that before, but I just was
Yeah,
not
it's
remembering.
fine.
And then up in the what is it? The ARPA, you say you've got 448,000 left of that money to expend. Is that being looked at for those projects that you just mentioned?
That will not be it will be used, yes, for some of the technology issues.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Roofs and things like that do not qualify for the ARPA funds for higher education. So that is coming from the 2.5 that was provided by our local legislators and the governor's office. Okay.
Thank you.
Other questions for you?
Carol, on the, say with the HERF fund,
Yes.
should we as an institution get to decide how that was distributed or what the criteria was for students to receive, or did that come from the
No.
government? Because it seems like each institution is different on.
It is they put some general guidelines out there. Basically, Governor Teaming, what they did is they said it has to be just, equitable. Preference should be given to need-based, things like that. But they allowed you to build your own thing. And that's what we did. And we built it, and how the numbers come kind of are derived, quite honestly, is that we've got 2.9. How many students do we have? How do we break it based on these criteria? And that would determine if you get $1,500 or $1,200 or that sort of thing. Yes. Other questions?
That same criteria used in the spring
I'm sorry.
is the same criteria used in the spring for the.
Yes, we will use the same criteria. We've used the same criteria from the very beginning of the CARES Act funding right on through. The only thing that's changed, Governor Berry, is the amounts, right? But we've tried to be consistent with that and those with need-based and things like that. So yes. Okay. One last thing, may not impact you, but Dr. Kennedy, do you have yours? A new ID system is in place, a one-card system. She'd like to pass that around and show everyone her photo. It is currently in place. We're getting it ready for our students and things like that. So we hope to have that rolling too. And again, this is more of the infrastructure. It's a safety concern for us. It's access to buildings. It's things like that. So it's been a long, tedious process getting some of those things done, but there's been a lot of great work done on that. Yes.
Cheryl, is that going to be completed by the spring semester?
Yeah. Yeah. That is the goal right now. We have some of the facilities, residence halls, right? First are on a key card, so we've got to convert them over. And it's been a little bit of a nightmare, quite honestly, Governor Eversole. But we are making great progress. We think we've got everything in place now. So with the one card, okay, a student can pay for their meal, get into the residence halls, go to the rec center, whatever the case may be, right? All on one card. And we can enhance that. It can also be work in the library. There's just the bookstore there, sky's the limit.
I really would like to see that card for a week.
Okay, but yeah, it's a, I'm sorry.
To get in or to get out also?
You don't need it to get out. You do not need it to get out. Okay. But this is improved security from what we have.
Any other questions for Vice President Morrison?
Okay,
Thank you,
sir.
Now we'll hear from Dr. Mark Manganaro, Academic Affairs Vice President.
Good afternoon. Well, we are hurtling toward the end of the fall semester, just coming off a fall break last week. It's hard to believe that classes end a week from tomorrow on the 10th, and from there we move into finals. Before you know it, it'll all be over. Once again, there's a wealth of material in the board book, in the academic affairs section of the board book, on a lot of the wonderful things that our faculty and our students and our staff have been doing. I just want to briefly focus on four areas or issues. The strategic faculty hiring process. I've I've talked about this at a few prior meetings. We began that in October of this semester to identify hiring needs for staffing, mainly for the 22-23 academic year, mainly faculty, but also some staff positions. This is a new kind of process, and we requested from chairs to provide information on staffing needs based on the anticipated number of courses to be taught by said faculty member when it's faculty, the number of students in program required courses, the number of students in the program, just a number of areas to be considered. So it's a very data informed process. In November, the department chairs submitted their staffing request to the dean and the provost. The deans sent on their priorities to the provost. We met and we discussed that. And just before Thanksgiving, provost office met with the president and CFO Morrison to make some determinations as to hires. At this time, approximately a dozen searches have been approved and moved forward. It's important we move searches forward, especially with faculty in a timely manner at this time of year, so that we're not, we're capturing that timeline of the best time it is to hire faculty. I should say that the majority of these positions would be filling vacant lines. Some of them would certainly be new lines. I really want to emphasize that the decisions are driven by enrollment demands, and especially for newer programs, but not exclusively for newer programs that are targeted for enrollment growth. This, again, is a very data-informed process, and it establishes a pattern that we're going to continue following in terms of requests for faculty hires. That's not based on how many lines behind we are based on a year or two ago, but what the actual demand is. And I know the president has spoken about expanding this toward, beyond academic affairs to staff hires as well. So I wanted to speak to a few new initiatives really revolving around micro-credentials and certificates. You may recall that a micro-credential in early childhood education was launched in the fall of this year to increase the quality of early childhood programs in the region. All micro-credentials that we are designing are recognized by the Missouri Department of Higher Ed. We're really moving toward expanding those. These are basically, the model for these are 9 to 13 credit hours of competency-based curriculum, accompanied by a capstone project that is really designed to meet area workforce demand. So really responds to our state mandate. Now, the Early College Academy has led the way in this, and that's our dual credit, dual enrollment program for high school students. And the ECA has launched 4 certificates focusing on workforce development. Each one of those, again, contains 12 to 14 hours of coursework, including introductory courses in areas of health, wellness, education, leadership, etc. All of those certificates in the ECA contain coursework that can be applied towards the Core 42 General Studies program, which is the core that is recognized across the public institutions in New Jersey and can apply to Missouri Western majors. But I also wanted to mention that there are 2 new micro-credentials that are being developed currently, one in psychology and one in chemistry. In psychology, this is a micro-credential that would focus on disability and aging services. And actually, tomorrow morning, we're going to be having a long working group meeting on that to further develop that proposal. Another one that's really exciting is a chemistry proposal that's focusing on developing chemical laboratory technicians. And we see this, our chemistry chair, Mike Ducey, says he regularly gets calls from different companies in the greater St. Joe area saying, we need chemists, right? And we need them now. So this is really designed, actually, it's a 4-tiered program, and it's designed beginning with a 13 credit micro credential and moving up to certificates for laboratory technicians. And so this is a very exciting opportunity. And this is, again, in development. Briefly, I want to speak to spring 2022 course enrollments. This last summer, we began a process to closely, in the provost office, working with chairs and deans to closely monitor course and section enrollments for the semester, and doing that in a timely manner before the semester actually begins. And again, we're looking here in the interest of efficiency to monitor and make sure courses are properly enrolled and not under-enrolled. In some cases, canceling sections that are under-enrolled, combining sections, and in some cases, certainly opening sections that are needed. This is really meant to maximize our faculty teaching resources, reduce unnecessary expenditures, and improve students' time to graduation. When they need those courses, they need them. So this last summer, the provost office provided the chairs a strategic guide to course enrollment, which also talks about, our chairs and our faculty, all of us, thinking very deliberately and long-term about how we rotate our courses from, semester to semester and year to year. Last thing I want to talk about, and I know Dr. Mace will speak about this as well, is the efforts we're making to get our students to register for the spring semester. Every year, Missouri Western and really all institutions I know of, are concerned and worried about making sure the students are enrolling for their courses in a timely manner. So this year, Academic Affairs and the Office of Finance and Enrollment Management, we've been working very collaboratively in a multi-pronged effort to ensure that our current students are getting registered, for courses for the spring. It's an unusual time, right? With the holiday, the Christmas, the winter break. There's that hiatus, so we need to be very attentive. This is really a new process that, first of all, entailed our dividing up our current students who are not yet fully registered, finding out who they are, right? And then dividing them up into those students who are registered but have a hold placed on their account, usually for financial reasons. Those students would be voided on January 6th. So we need to be very attentive to letting them know that and working with them. And then there are those students who have not registered but have no holds, but simply haven't registered. So we have a communication system to contact them, our advisors in our Office of Advising and our faculty. And then we have students who have at least one hold on their accounts that are not currently registered. So we're working on each group of those students. We recognize that we have some students, such as in education, who are actually unable to register until the fall grades come out. So we need to recognize there's a certain number of those who are on hiatus for that reason. We developed a registration business financial process and timeline. On a weekly basis, the registrar sends to Academic Affairs and Enrollment Management an updated list of those students who have yet to enroll. That list is shared with our academic and advising areas, which then contact these students and track them. This Monday, or actually on November 22nd, the balance for fall of 21 was sent from the business office to students. This Monday, on the 29th, enrolled students with accounts which require attention were contacted by the business office. Over winter break, Mr. Morrison's area will send a mailer with information pertaining to the financial and the business and financial aid that those students with remaining balances. So we're really doing this on a full frontal basis to get these students enrolled and resolve their financial difficulties. The void list, where students get dropped from their courses if they have not paid their bills, is January 6th. So January 3rd, 4th, and 5th, it's like, all hands on deck, contacting as many students as possible, and even those students without financial holds, getting them to register for their courses. So that's, there's a lot more that could be said, but I'll stop for now and happy to answer any questions.
I've got a question. You talked about contacting those various classifications of students for the spring semester. Is that by email, telephone, or both? Or how you do it?
Actually, all of the above and a few more. I think we are sending out sort of simultaneous, emails and texts and making phone calls.
And phone call.
Yeah, and phone calls.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Now we'll hear from Dr. Melissa Mays, Student Affairs and Enrollment Management.
Good afternoon. Chairperson Ebersold, governors, President Kennedy, colleagues, and Griffin community. Thank you for the opportunity to share the good work of the Division of Student Affairs and Enrollment Management. No, I went a little ahead of you, Kevin. I apologize. All right. There we go. As noted in my written remarks, November was a very busy month at Missouri Western. I'd like to highlight just a few of the many events. The International Education Fair, pictured in the bottom corner here, was held on November 17th and was a huge success. This annual event attracted over 400 members of the Griffin and St. Joe community, where attendees were able to visit 30 country stations and taste foods and beverages from our international students' home countries. I would like to thank Stephen Kerr and all of the Airmark staff for their outstanding support of this event. And I would like to recognize Humi Cheever, Director of Global Engagement, for the phenomenal job she and all of our international students did in putting together this very important cultural experience for our community. On November 16th, our Dean of Students, Dr. Brett Bruner, hosted an event on the topics of consent and bystander intervention. Doctors Christy and Kurt Brungart, in the bottom corner over there, co-founders of Janice Campaign, gave a heartfelt and insightful lecture titled "Love Shouldn't Hurt." Between 125 and 150 students were in attendance for this event, and each student who attended the event received this t-shirt, "Love Shouldn't Hurt." Dr. Jennifer Jackson, Associate Professor from the Department of Communications, and Suzanne Kissick, Chair and Associate Professor of Criminal Justice and Legal Studies, were recognized through the Advising Shout-Out Awards, in which students nominate faculty for outstanding advising. Each awardee received $25 in Aramark gold cards or gold dollars. I would like to thank them sincerely for all the work they do to help our Griffins succeed. In partnership with Academic Affairs and Finance and Administration, as Dr. Manganero just discussed, we have made a concerted effort to encourage students to finalize the registration process before leaving campus at the end of the semester. As of Monday, 80% of our current student body have registered for spring classes, leaving just over 500 continuing students to register for fall courses. Our goal will be to close that gap prior to the end of this semester. And as Dr. Manganero mentioned in his remarks, we have done a great deal around communicating with our student body on registering for classes, and that work will continue until the start of the fall or the next semester. All right, our admissions counselors have been traveling, conducting high school and college visits and college fairs since August 30th. The final college fair of the fall recruitment season is December 10th. They've been on the road a long time. The counselors, along with all members of the admissions team, have done an amazing job this fall, telling the Missouri Western story as evidenced in the recruitment data. As I have mentioned in previous board reports, spring freshman recruitment is more passive, and the class is typically smaller as the vast majority of students begin their studies in the fall semester. However, I do want to share the progress we are making in spring semester. As you see from this slide, we are currently up 17 admitted students over the same time last year, with 57 admitted freshmen, and the gap between, 57 and this year, 40 last year, and the gap being 17. At the October Board of Governors meeting, I shared that we had admitted 38 new freshmen for spring as compared to 29 last year. So you see a gap of 9 students in October, and that gap is continuing to widen. Let's see, sorry about that. All right, transfer students. The spring 2022 transfer student admits are also seeing an increase. 88 admitted transfer students at this time compared to 60 at the same time last year, which is, of course, a gap or an increase of 28 admitted students. As a reminder, we had admitted 58 transfer students as opposed to 31 at the same time in October. The year-over-year trend lines for the admitted transfer students are incredibly consistent, and I have no expectation that that will change as we near the end of the fall recruitment for spring students. Of course, the majority of our recruitment efforts focus on the fall 2022 class. We have had a successful fall recruitment cycle as depicted in this slide. As of Monday, we were 575 admitted freshman students over where we were at the same time last year and have seen significant progress this fall. At the October board meeting, we had admitted 938 freshmen for fall. Just, pardon me, just over 1 month later, we have admitted 1,530 freshmen. I also wanted to share with you that I received news at 11:57 this morning that we had hit 1,603 admitted freshman students for fall. So, and as a reminder, on January 11th last year, we had admitted 1,265 students. So we are doing very well and are cautiously optimistic for a positive fall 2022 semester. Again, I'd like to share my wonderful Missouri territory map as we move into kind of some of the territory information, and give credit to Maysville fifth grader Gentry Swiger for doing the outstanding artwork. Let me go back. So North Missouri, of course, the counties at the top, East Missouri, down the eastern side of Missouri, the southern, starting with St. Clair, moving all the way down, Kansas City and Central Missouri, right in the middle of the state, North Kansas City, which is Platte and Clay counties, and then, of course, Buchanan County. All right, fall 2022 Missouri territories. So when we take a look at this, I want to explain that I've got 4 columns for each of the areas. So let me kind of go over what those are. So gold is December 2021, blue is December 2020, orange is October 2021, and green is October 2020. As you can see, we are experiencing an increase in the numbers of admitted freshman students from all 6 of our Missouri territory assignments, with our strongest area of growth in the Kansas City and Central Missouri territory. Right, there are 8 high schools in the Buchanan County area, and we are experiencing growth in 6 of the 8 schools. This is a positive shift from the October board meeting when we were only experiencing growth in 3 of the 8 schools, with the biggest shift occurring at Central High School. At this point in time, we have applications and admits from 21% of our Buchanan County senior students. The top 5 states that receive the in-state tuition rate are Missouri, of course, along with Kansas, Illinois, Nebraska, and Iowa. And while these states have consistently remained the same, we did see Illinois move to the 3rd highest state in terms of admitted students. At the October board meeting, Nebraska was our 3rd ranking state in terms of admitted students, but Illinois has, we've seen a big increase in applications and admits from Illinois. We are also demonstrating growth in our top 6 Missouri counties. You may recall that in October, we were down in admitted students in Platte County. As you can see, the necessary adjustments were made, and we are now experiencing growth in Platte County as well. In October, we had a 12% decrease in Platte County, and we are now seeing a 17% increase. We've also seen a little bit of movement in our top undergraduate majors. While nursing, psychology, elementary education, and criminal justice have remained constant, pre-med has jumped into the mix, moving into the 5th slot, and moving social work to our 6th, and physical therapy assistant off the slide, but still holding well in that 7th slot. Overall, we have experienced a phenomenal fall recruitment cycle, and I'm incredibly pleased with the work that everyone in the division has done to make this happen. I will add something to what Dr. Manganero said when he talked about the data-driven decision-making that he and Dr. Kennedy are doing with regard to filling open faculty positions. We work together to provide an intended majors report, which is what this is built off of, so that that data, Dr. Manganero and Dr. Kennedy receive that data every Monday on where nursing, psychology, all of the majors are in terms of the recruitment efforts, and then whether or not, then better decisions can be made as to whether or not more faculty are needed. So we're really, really relying heavily on solid data to make informed decisions. That is the conclusion of my remarks, and I'm happy to take questions at this time.
Any questions for Dr. Mace?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We will now hear from the interim athletic director, Teresa Grossbeck.
Good afternoon, Dr. Kennedy and governors. I appreciate the opportunity to present on athletics and recreation and esports. So at the last meeting, we discussed the special convention that was going to be had on the Constitution for the NCAA. And the information was released in November, and it addresses the 6 core tenets of the NCAA. The new language is more student-focused. It talks about greater autonomy for the divisions. The nice part is the financial structure remains in place. So the 4.37% that has traditionally been allocated to Division II will remain. And that was a potential point of concern for the division and what that could mean for our programming and the funds that come to NCAA Division II institutions. They're also reiterated that it takes a two-thirds majority to amend the Constitution, and that ultimately all that final control rests with the presidents and the chancellors. So all the information now has been put in front of the association. There will be some modifications that will go to the National Convention in January for a vote collectively. The anticipation is that it will pass, and then it will be passed down to the divisional governance structure to see how they want to implement all those potential changes. So encouraged by the process, think it's a really great opportunity for division to reshape itself and really be more student friendly. We did have some individuals, 2 of our student athletes and our Associate AD of Compliance went to a national convention super region for the SAC, so our Student Athlete Advisory Committee, brought back a ton of knowledge about mental health in particular, right? And the focus that there is on the division on that right now coming out of COVID, and hoping to implement some new programming in the spring based on that information. I remain a member of the MIAA task force. Right now, we will likely have one more meeting. The general recommendation coming out of the committee is to really strongly consider growth as a conference. And that being, if you've seen all of the recent movement, especially at Division I and the trickle down effect that's likely to have on our conference, and really wanting to strengthen the MIAA and remain the premier conference in Division II. So I anticipate that'll be the recommendation coming out of the membership task force to the CEOs for consideration, and then what that strategic plan would look like moving forward. All of our all of our fall sports are complete now, finished on a really strong note. Our football team had a 3-game winning streak and ended up with the MIAA Freshman of the Year in Brandon Hall, 3 members on the second team and 3 members on the third team. So second team was Evan Shohan, Sam Webb, Kobe Cummings, and third team was Evan Clark, Brandon Johnson, and CJ Ravenel. So all those coaches right now are in a major recruiting cycle. Football will have the early signing period here in December coming up. Griffin volleyball finished on the road at Central Missouri, losing to the #1 team in the nation. Allie Tauken did end up being our all-time kills leader in history. So I anticipate she's a Hall of Fame caliber graduate, not only on the floor, but in the classroom, and has a position at the University of Iowa Research Hospital. So a great Griff. Was second team all conference with Allie Kearns, and an honorable mention for Danny Moyer. Griffin soccer, we had 2 that were recognized as COSIDA Academic All District, and they will go potentially for the next level of recognition for their performance in the classroom. That was Anna Mayer and Callie Campbell. Cross country, we had the fastest times in the history of the program at regionals. And then Madison Nash was our top finisher, and we've discussed her before at this meeting, 15th overall, just outside of qualifying for championships, and then was also recognized regionally as an all-regional selection, only the second we've had in cross country's history. So great momentum moving forward there in all of our fall programs. Griffin men's basketball played what I would call a gauntlet of a schedule, and played as many ranked teams as possible, and managed to take down 2, Oklahoma Baptist and St. Thomas. And then moving into the conference season, which starts tonight in Looney Complex. If you're looking for something to do to cheer on the Griffs, start at 5:30. Griffin women's basketball right now, they're 4-0 for the first time since 2015-16 to start the year, and excited about what's happening in that program as well. From a personnel update standpoint, we have added 1 member of our team, former director of championships at the NAI, Mike Higgins, has joined us in a part-time role to manage game day operations. This is certainly a component that was left for us as a gap with Brett Easley's departure. So glad to have someone of his caliber and experience that's taking the lead in that. And then we had another departure at the end of November. Our athletics accountants, Louise Mills, had a promotion. She went to the director of human resources and accounting for the St. Joseph Youth Alliance. So looking to fill her role. And then maybe one that probably shocked a few folks, Marion Carbon has stepped down as our head volleyball coach. If you talk to Marion, she would tell you she's at peace with this decision. It was something she'd been considering for a period of time. She's a servant leader at heart, incredible role model for our young women, and looking for that new professional opportunity, that new challenge in her life. But excited that she'll remain on with us for the next month to help us transition to the next head coach. And then ideally, perhaps in the spring, work with us on some part-time role capacity. Moving on to recreation services, Director Emily Lugwood continues to get out there regionally and nationally to present. So she presented with Dr. Bruner at a NERSA convention about marketing to research for first generation students, doing a lot of intramural programming. And so we have multiple options right now. We had 92 students that are participating in co-ed volleyball, looking forward to some ping pong and 3-on-3 basketball up next. Emily's groups partner with a lot of different groups across campus to do Title IX events, to do a promotion about alcohol awareness. So trying to stay collaborative. And then in terms of the pool and its growth, we continue to offer swim lessons. All those have been sold out with the Parks and Recreation, and then added a few more contract rentals, Boy Scouts of America, Mosaic, Arthritis Community, and Bishop LeBlond. So continue to grow those revenue streams and those community partnerships in that area. And then finally, to update on esports, did tremendous at their first ever competition in a championship setting at the Peach Belt Conference, advanced to the semifinals, which is really exciting. George Acosta was named Peach Belt Rookie of the Year. Luca Souza was named Player of the Year in the Red Division for Overwatch. And then our director, our interim director, Luke Tice, who's been doing a tremendous job, was a panelist for local high schools and really trying to hone in on what it would take for us to run our own on-campus event as we continue to move forward and hopefully out of COVID. And then continue to work for esports clubs and trying to partner with Dr. Bruner's group and how we construct those and could grow esports even more from a recreational standpoint. All 4 of our teams right now are engaged in the ECAC conference and reached their divisional championships. And if you come to the arena and you see us participate, we're now putting our kids that are participating out in front in their desks. And so you can walk in the arena and actually view that. That's kind of our first step forward and really running an event where people could come and actually watch in the space versus online via Twitch. Continue to track metrics of people in the space, our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Those things are doing well. We had 115 students on campus from 12 to 14 years old for YWCA Choices and Decisions, kind of their final wrap up, and then working with Parks and Rec, Central High School, and Level Up Arena. And then we have some administrators in the crowd, Dr. Kennedy, Becky Dunn, I think Chris Dunn, Dr. Bruner, all competed for our 24-hour live stream. We ended up raising another $750, bringing that total for the Children's Miracle Network to $5,256 in 2021, which we're glad to help. And with that, I would pause and happy to entertain any questions.
Well, having none, we thank you, Teresa.
All right, thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Gene Alwash, the University Advancement and Missouri Western State University Foundation. Welcome, Gene.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. I just have three agenda items or 3 broad topics to share with you today. On the foundation side, I'm happy to report that we have a new slate of officers starting in January as in the foundation board area. Our chair is Bill Grimwood. The vice chair is Pat Maudlin, treasurer Matt Thrasher, and secretary Susan Pettigrew. Great slate. Our new nominees that will have all agreed to join us in January as new board members for their first of 3-year terms are Kurt Jordan. He's retired from Sherwin-Williams. Great addition. Maria Burnham from St. Joe's School District. Ron Barbosa with Security Bank. Nicholas Robb with Morton Reed, Counts, Briggs and Robb. And Mark Woodbury with Pasolini. Help me, guys. Pasolini, PC. So we're very excited about this group, and the governance committee, I want to acknowledge, I had a very thorough vetting process, and we work closely with some folks on the university side on this, and so that's very exciting. GradFest, so on the alumni side, in partnership with so many divisions here. Our second GradFest was yesterday, December 1st. And that's where our 215 graduates that will graduate here in December came together and it was a grad fest. So it was a festival of sorts. And the Alumni Association was involved, Career Development, Barnes and Noble, the Center for Military and Veteran Services, Aramark, the graduate school in terms of graduate school opportunities, Center for Service, and of course, Marketing and Communications. I do want to share with you, there were 25 students who received their legacy cords. Now, legacy cords are cords that go around their necks and don their cap and gown, and they're legacy members of this fine university. Also next year, as we move forward with some student fundraising initiatives, we will be adding to that giving cords. There's partnership cords. There's not a marketing name with that yet, but we'll be working with the marketing department on that.
And then then on the fundraising side, I'm happy to announce that yesterday was Giving Tuesday. I'd like to thank everybody in this room for your support on this. Chairman Eversol, we couldn't have done it without your leadership. Thank you so much. We had just amazing participation by the Board of Governors and the Foundation Board, the Alumni Association. Our goal, let me back up for a minute. Last year, we had something similar to a day of giving. It wasn't on Giving Tuesday. I think it was at another time. This was our first year to be associated with the International Day of Giving. And so we wanted to be ambitious, but we wanted to be, we wanted to have a stretch goal, but we wanted to make sure we could hit it, where our goal was 20,000. And at this point, we're at 39,000. And as everybody probably knows from all the Day of Giving materials you've gotten, in your mail, and your email, your social media, it will continue and we'll close it out in January. So we're quite confident that we'll hit that 50,000 stretch goal. I'd like to thank Patty Long for heading this new initiative up, and what a remarkable job you and Alicia and the marketing department did. Thank you so much. Again, our goal, I want to just one more metrics. Our goal was 100 donors. We hit 90. And so we're very excited about it, and being very excited about being part of this international initiative, and we're in the game, and that's exciting. Finally, this is my work here concludes on December 31st, and I want to thank everybody for all of your hard work and your dedication, the Board of Governors for the hours and hours you spend in your important work, our foundation board, hours and hours, our leadership under Dr. Kennedy, thank you so much, the cabinet, and of course, this amazing staff in advancement. So my report's almost over and I'm moving the mic close to me. In advancement with the Alumni Association, with the alumni, as well as the foundation. And with that, this concludes my report. I'm more than happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Not a question, but a comment. I think that the traditional graduate is a May or spring graduate, but that's not the case for all of our students. And I know that the Grad Fest was really well received by students, and we do a good job of recognizing our winter graduates too.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Hannah. And that's a really good point. Everybody has their different perspectives on it. I love how all the different departments come together and work together on this on behalf of our students.
But Gene, more importantly, we want to thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you.
You've been
Appreciate it.
very good.
Very nice. Mr. Lewis. Thank you.
Dean, thank you for your report, and thank you for your service to us. It's been outstanding, and we will miss you.
Oh, thank you
Wish
so
you all the
much.
best.
And I'll miss you all too. St. Joe is an amazing town, and it's really, my son came out from Chicago, and it's just an amazing town, and everybody's been just so wonderful and gracious. So thank you.
Next, we'll have the report from Becky Dunn, Marketing and Communication.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. So wanting to provide an update and continue the theme of data-driven decision-making. So my report contains a summary of data about projects that my team has been working on since the beginning of the fiscal year, some social media analytics and some website analytics. Also provided just a little timeline of recent history of our team. We've, just like the university, gone through a lot of change, both with staffing and responsibility. And so I wanted to highlight that a little bit. Moving forward, we'll be looking at developing strategic plans for our marketing, for our social media, and for our web. I'm proud to announce, if you visited our web page recently, we've made an upgrade to our homepage. So I hope you'll visit and see the change that we've made. We're looking at ways that we can increase our navigation, make it easier, make it more accessible, and also monitor our content more consistently. We're making some plans for internal communication as well, in ways that we can be more efficient and streamlined, and also provide more information in ways that people can access it easier. And we're working on collaborating with a lot of different groups across campus. We're working on collaborating with admissions on new billboards. We're working with career development to promote those graduates who are walking across the stage in a few weeks who have jobs already lined up. We're proud to promote that. And then also with communicating, especially the network challenges and changes that are happening, to let students and employees know help is on the way. And so we want to make sure that word gets out. I'll pause for any questions.
Appears that there is none, Becky, so thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much.
This time, we're going to have the reports from the committees. And first up is the report from the Academic and Student Engagement Committee from Vice Chair Schoonover.
Okay, thank you. Well, we did not meet again this month, but as we stated earlier, when we formed these committees, we were not going to meet just to meet, to say we've met. And at this time, we didn't have a reason to meet. One being that part of our committee members, as you heard earlier, Dr. Manganero and Dr. Mace have been very, very busy, and I couldn't see the need to add another meeting to their slate. But what they have been doing, and they've been working to identify, as he stated in our report, to identify outcomes and resources for each goal and objective. And then they're going to meet the first of the year to collaborate and coordinate these logistics that they have collected. Then we plan to get this information from them and meet before our February board meeting to look at what they have found for us and decide what our next step will be. So that's where we're at with that.
Okay, well, very good. Thank you, Vice Chair Schoonover. Now, the report from the Policies and Bylaws Committee will be given by Governor Teeman.
The Policy and Bylaws Committee did not meet this last month. We are continuing to review drafts of various policies, and the goal is to meet prior to our next Board of Governors meeting and offer a recommendation to the policies that have been reviewed.
Okay, Governor Teeman, thank you. Now we'll have the report from the student governor, Hannah Berry.
My written reports can be found on page 46, though very brief. I think when you catch a student somewhere between fall break and winter break, you never really know what you're going to get. But that fall break was a much needed pause in our semester, and now we are really trudging forward. Some of us are crawling, some of us are sprinting to the finish line. But just an overall reflection on our fall 2021 semester was just really rewarding in the fact that we got to bring back many traditions and see each other in person, spend time together, and be with our professors in person. All of the things that we have missed over the last year and a half or so really was just a great semester for students to be back. And we are looking forward to the spring, though you might not get that answer if you ask somebody right now. And with that, I'd welcome any questions.
Thank you, Governor Berry. Now we'll hear from the president of the university, Dr. Kennedy.
Well, thank you, Chair Ebersold, Vice Chair Schoonover, and governors. As has been mentioned, as we return for what I hope for everyone was a restful fall break with only little bits of the semester lying ahead of us. As Governor Berry just informed us, this semester has brought the return of the Missouri Western State University collegiate experience, and it has been exciting and wonderful to witness the vibrancy of campus life. In addition to the traditional events that we've been able to celebrate, I would also like to point out that our faculty and academic staff in our colleges were incredibly engaged this semester. For example, the Division of Academic Affairs snapshot of activities which highlight applied learning experience, our faculty scholarly activities, and other accomplishments number over 175, all completed between the October board meeting and November 15th. That's outstanding activity. And I would invite the governors to review the detailed listings of these accomplishments as they truly showcase the talent and dedication of our faculty and academic staff. Finally, as we round out the fall semester, in addition to the day-to-day maintenance efforts, I also want to acknowledge the dramatic improvements which have been made to our campus environment over the past several months, and which have been accomplished through the dedicated work of so many of our staff in so many areas, but especially in physical plant. I want to thank you all. Speaking of the end of the semester, winter commencement is arriving, and we will have the honor of having Esther George, the president of the Federal Reserve in Kansas City, to serve as our commencement speaker for our winter commencement ceremony on December 18th at 11 a.m. in the Looney Complex. As many of you know, Esther is an alumna of Missouri Western and is from Fawcett, Missouri, and her remarks are guaranteed to be inspiring. So let's talk about COVID-19, shall we? Our COVID-19 response team continues to diligently monitor the COVID-19 situation in our area and to sift through all the scientific reports and data as pertains to our campus. Our weekly meetings continue, as does the university's participation in the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development's weekly COVID-19 conference calls. Based upon several factors, including increased community and campus cases, increased hospitalizations, increased positivity rates in our county, and upon the recommendation from our COVID-19 response team, Missouri Western moved to reinstate its face coverings policy as of November 15th. All students, faculty, staff, and visitors, and I emphasize visitors to our campus, must wear a mask covering their nose and mouth in all indoor public places on Missouri Western's campus. At this point, it is expected that the face covering policy will remain in effect through the end of the semester. The COVID-19 response team will continue to review the data weekly, and should conditions change significantly, another announcement will be made. Further, we have increased accessibility to COVID-19 testing on campus by expanding testing in the Esri Health Center to Monday through Thursday, 8 to 4:30 by appointment, and by promoting information about vaccination, booster shot events in our area. Keeping the campus safe and healthy, as well as operational, is the ultimate goal. Let me share with you some information about the status for the Vice President for Advancement, Executive Director of the Foundation. Dr. Mace and members of the search committee are moving this search forward with positive momentum. A good pool of applications has been received and is under review, and both Bill Grimwood, the Foundation Board Chair, and myself are optimistic regarding the next steps in the process. More details about the search process will be shared as they is finalized. And given that this is Jean's last meeting, I did want to offer my own personal thank you to you for your efforts. We have already recognized you as a board, but I did want to point that out. So thank you very much, Jean. Some university initiatives I can share with you. As has been mentioned by Vice President Morrison, and as detailed in my Board of Governors report, I have appointed an ad hoc employee compensation committee, which intentionally represents a cross-section of the university's employees, and as such, reinforces the importance of shared governance to the university. The ad hoc committee, employee compensation committee, is charged with reviewing the compensation plan, which again, as mentioned, is nearing completion by CBIZ Talent and Compensation Solutions, and developing a set of recommendations regarding compensation increases, levels, and timelines for all university employees. Now, budget considerations and fiscal situations will be a key driver of the implementation plan. However, the intent and the commitment are to initiate compensation increases as soon as financially possible. I have had multiple conversations with Vice President Morrison. We have discussed it as a board, and I want to be sure that this message is crystal clear. I hope you governors will join me in offering appreciation to the individuals on the ad hoc employment compensation committee for their willingness to serve Missouri Western in this very important work for our university. Speaking of funding, let me give you an update about the City of St. Joseph ARPA funding. As you recall, there's significant money available to the city in their ARPA funding. Missouri Western submitted a proposal, $450,000, to address our local law enforcement agencies' personnel needs and to upgrade our equipment in order to provide state-of-the-art training in our law enforcement academy. On November 30th, we appeared at a city council work session to address questions and provide clarification about our proposal. The proposal was met with good support, and the next step will entail approval by the full city council at their December 13th meeting. I'd like to thank the members of the Missouri Western State University team who worked on this proposal, as well as all of those who provided external support. For example, the city's ARPA committee, the mayor and city council, the city manager, Chief Canale, and Sheriff Pruitt, just to name a few. I would also like to take a moment to acknowledge the extra efforts of Commander King and our General Counsel, Kelly Douglas, in getting us to this stage in the process. As a marathon runner, I can tell you, many start out strong in the race, but it's the perseverance and determination that makes all the difference in terms of who actually crosses the finish line. Relatedly, our Law Enforcement Academy will be celebrating the graduation ceremony of our fall 2021 class this Friday. We have 17 cadets who will receive their certificates. 17 are already employed in our region. And yes, that is 100% placement rate. I am also further proud to say that this class also includes 2 veterans who will receive a challenge coin from the Missouri Western Center for Military and Veteran Services Unit, a special recognition of their graduation from our Law Enforcement Academy. In terms of community engagement, as always, I continue my efforts to infuse Missouri Western into our community, to engage, repair, rebuild, build, seek out opportunities to connect with a host of individuals in order to promote the university in every way possible. Missouri Western has had the pleasure of hosting several of our state elected officials on campus in recent weeks, including Senators Dan Hegeman, Tony Luetkemeyer, and Brian Williams of the 14th District in St. Louis. We engaged in conversations about Missouri Western's priorities, particularly as related to budget decisions in the upcoming session. Equally important, I was very pleased to showcase the work of our faculty and students engaged in our nursing simulation lab, as well as the labs in our departments of biology and chemistry. Let me offer a special thank you to Dean Harris, Chairs Gentry, Mills, and Ducey, as well as the faculty and students, all who provided our distinguished guests an excellent firsthand example of the power of applied learning here at Missouri Western. I would like to say finally, along with the support of so many of our donors in our community, I am incredibly grateful for the combined efforts of our local and state elected officials. They continue their unwavering support in Missouri Western, and at every level we have benefited from their dedicated commitment to our university. And finally, as I routinely end my reports, Missouri Western State University is moving forward with clear direction and sure purpose, and I am thrilled to be part of this momentum. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Kennedy. The report of the chair. I would like to thank the other members of the Board of Governors here for their support and their hard work and the time that they give to this university. And in my opinion, job well done. Thanks to all of you. And especially thanks for your contributions with the donations to the university this fall and this past Tuesday as well. I agree with your comments with your ad hoc committee. Thank you to all of you for your hard work on that, and congratulations to the Law Enforcement Academy. And placement of all of the graduates is outstanding. I think we have a great reputation regionally and perhaps even nationally for the work that our Law Enforcement Academy does. Our next scheduled board meeting will be Thursday, February 24th, 2022 at 1:30 in the afternoon. Are there any board member comments or questions? There being no further comments or questions, a vote will be held to close the meeting pursuant to Missouri statutes 610.021, sections 1, 2, 3, and 14 to consider legal matters, real estate, personnel, and other matters protected by law. Do I have a motion to close the meeting?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried, and at this point, I think we the board meeting is back in open session. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel recommendations as presented in closed session?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Being no opposition, the motion passes. There being no further action at this time, the board will go into recess in order to attend the Institute for Industrial and Applied Life Sciences, more commonly referred to as Innovation Stockyard Board of Directors meeting at the Kit Bond Innovation Stockyard Building. There, the governors will be provided with the status report of the Innovation Stockyard by the Stockyard's director and will tour the facility. The Board of Governors meeting will adjourn at the conclusion of the Innovation Stockyard Board's meeting.